Welcome to the Green Room, your backstage pass to the world of surfing. I'm your host, surf MC and commentator Tappa Teece, diving into epic wins, crushing fails and wild stories with surfing's biggest names, as well as the legends working behind the scenes to keep that stoke alive. A big shout out to our sponsor for this episode, the Official Beer Co. with their new GC Lager. So wax up, paddle out and join us in the Green Room, where the surf chat never goes flat. Well, today on the Green Room, I've got a bloke made my third ever surfboard I had. Me and my brother, we first off we got one board together. Then we got then I got a board, another reshape. They were all reshapes. And then, well, Dad went on a tour overseas. He went with the Seagulls Rugby League tour, the supporters tour with his boss, and he's over there in England and he rings back home and, pretty exciting. Dad ringing from England and he has a chat to me. He goes, "Yeah, Terry, I was going to get you some souvenirs, but would you prefer souvenirs or a new board?" And there was no answer. It was just like, new board. And so Dad went and saw Hono, and he had this new bloke there that was shaping boards. And my first ever real surfboard, not made from an old surfboard, was by this man. He's a shaper, he's an environmentalist, he's done so many things. He's got more hats than, I think I've got in my cupboard. Welcome to the Green Room, Nev Hyman.
Tappa, I'm stoked, mate.
Mate, I'm stoked to have you here because, I think it must have been about 79 or 78 when I first met you. 77, there you go, when I was 12. And, mate, but you originally started in Western Australia, is that correct?
Yeah. I started making surfboards in my dad's garage, same old story, and then making surfboards when we were at school. Then the day that Phil, Usher and I finished high school in Perth, Western Australia, we opened Odyssey Surfboards in Perth. And prior to that, I come up here in 74 for the Aussie titles, and I couldn't believe Burleigh Heads. And I'm a natural foot. Yeah. Western Australia was awesome, but nobody really realised it. All lefts. Yeah. And I made a decision to leave. So by 77, I was only 18 or 19. I drove across the Nullarbor for about the 20th time and came up to Burleigh, and I've never looked back. It's just been unbelievable.
Mate, now, surfing itself, now, you're from Western Australia. Whereabouts in Western Australia did you grow up?
Well, the funny part about this is I'm a ginger. Yeah. My name's Neville. And I was actually raised about an hour and a half from the beach in the eastern suburbs of Perth, kind of like a Brizzo or a Westie or whatever. Yeah. Unbelievable. So we used to have to wait for a guy to come up in his EH Holden. We'd drive an hour and a half to go to Scarborough or Cottesloe in the afternoon, surf for about 20 minutes before it got dark, and then got home at like 8 o'clock to do no homework. So Phil and I scraped through year 12, started Odyssey Surfboards.
So where did you meet Phil? Because Phil Usher, I see Phil now and again. I remember because you two blokes come on, there's these two new blokes from Western Australia here.
Well, I came first, but Phil came over after. But the funny thing about Phil now, if you just wind the clock way forward, we started Odyssey Surfboards together, right? Yeah. So it's been a long Odyssey. Yeah. I want to go Homer. Bad joke. And then what does Phil do now? He has Odyssey Private Aged Care using the same logo. Literally,
no
same
way.
Odyssey,
Same
logo. And one day, Phil and I are going to be, 110, and we'll be laying in bed, holding hands in separate beds. That's I see my future right now.
Oh no, I've never thought of a future like that.
No, I don't want that future either.
No, but mate, okay, so you've come to the east coast of Australia. Like you're the new boy on the block, and so you've gone straight to Hono's.
No, actually, this is a great story.
Yeah.
I only wanted to meet Richard Harvey and Bob McTavish.
Oh,
they were
legend
like gods.
shapers, yeah.
Absolute gods for me living in Western Australia.
Yeah.
I only knew them, seeing them, Richard Harvey at the 73 Aussie titles in that he won at Margaret River. And anyway, so I drove up the coast and went into Lennox and asked the guy at the garage on the corner there, "Where's Bob McTavish's place?" Which was literally around the corner in the farm.
Oh, really? And the guy knew where he lived?
Oh, yeah.
I suppose Lennox was about that big.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I drive into Bob's place, and there he is, outside, wet rubbing the bottom of a board. And I get out my Jeep four-wheel drive, and I had boards on the roof, and I sheepishly said, "Oh, hello, Bob. My name's Neville. I've got some boards. Could you have a look at them for me, please?" And I took them off, and he was so cool. He checked them all out. And I said, look, I'd really like to meet Richard Harvey, you know. And I'll gave me the address at Miami. So, but do you know what he was working on? He sometimes doesn't like to be told this because the board he was wet rubbing was the bottom half of a dolphin, not a real dolphin, but the full convex curve of a dolphin with fins coming out the side. And he was wet rubbing that and testing, would a surfboard work as a full convex with fins coming out on about a 35, 40 degree angle? So he still kind of raises his eyebrows because obviously that didn't work. But that was my meeting with Bob. Then I fly up the coast, walk in to Dick Van's factory and Richard's factory.
Yeah.
I'm meeting gods again.
Yeah.
And chat away. And then I said, you know, they loved what I was doing. They could see that I could sandglass, shape, the whole lot.
Yeah.
They said they didn't have any work for me. In other words, get lost, kid.
Yeah.
But go up and see Hono. So I did. I went straight up to Hono. This is all on the same day, mind you.
Same day? The Lennox as well?
From Lennox, straight up here after speaking to Bob. I mean, Bob McTavish.
You get shit done, don't you?
I get shit done, mate. And then it gets better. So then I go to see Hono, and all the boys were there. You remember the boys?
Yeah. Macca and all that.
Oh, God, it was so good. And Hono just looks at my boards and goes, "You're in. You can make all my boards from now on." And I was just going stoked because I was actually the last shaper on the Hono list of globally renowned shape. Everyone from McTavish to Fitzgerald,
like
everybody.
Jeff Darby. I think most of the really good shapers have gone through Hono's back. You know, like up to yourself as the last one. But I just remember as a kid, you know, like because that's where we used to go. Yeah. We bought everything from. The only thing I didn't get from Hono's was socks, jocks. And probably shoes. That's the only thing I didn't get because we got our clothes, we got our boards, we got our wetsuits, everything from Hono's.
He was right there opposite Miami High School. And so on that same day though, I leave Hono's, like I'm stoked. Now I've got a job. So I fly up, I want to go up through Surfers Paradise, which was, you know, the highest building in Surfers Paradise back then was
10
the Gateway.
Stories or something.
Yeah, the Gateway. It had just been built. Anyway, I drive up to Woodruff Ave at Main Beach. Pull into Main Beach in my Jeep. There's a bunch of guys at the end of the street and a pretty hot-looking chick. And I pull in, get out to check the surf. My board's on the roof. They call group around, and it's the North End Board Riders. Almost everybody.
Wow.
They're all the crew.
That was the early days of North End too.
It was a year after they started.
Wow.
And they all gather around. I showed them my boards. They're all stoked. I could say this, but I probably pretty much took orders on that day, or at least a few days later. Yeah. And then I spotted this chick, and it's Bridget, which is my first girlfriend. So on the same day, I got my girlfriend. I got in with the North End Board Riders, met my heroes, and I got a job
in one day.
That's
doing some work. That's good.
Yeah, it was so good. And then I had my girlfriend there out at Coomerabarra, and I started making boards in a shed there. So whilst I was at Hono's, I was doing custom orders from the horse shed. Yeah, which was pretty morning of the earth. You know, it was pretty cool. But then I come down to Hono's, and all these crew, and Joe Ingle was the man then, and all the other shapers were rocking in, Al Byrne, and all the other guys were just coming in and saying hi. So I was meeting everyone in the industry, and then you guys rock in, you groms, like you guys were seriously groms. You were like about 11 or 12 or something.
Yeah, 12. I say 12.
Yeah, classic. I think you were my first real kinda team rider.
Well, yeah, I reckon Hono probably gave him a discount, made just shape it for cheaper or something, knowing Hono.
Guaranteed.
Because, that board, mine was mint green, a sort of like a pastel mint green, and my brother's was blue. About a 5'10" rounded pin, which back then for us was really big, but I thought that single fin, dead set, helped me so much with my style. So instead of having, like a lot of the kids today, you know, they got micro boards, but we basically had to learn how to use our rail and drive and turn. And, you know, that I think boards like that is, you know, I think lots of young kids should be like made to ride a single fin just to feel it out.
Absolutely. I had a guy come in the other day, Ryan Allegich, if you remember. Ryan was on tour, and he brought in 2 single fins that I made for Ryan, Sonny Garcia, and a few other pros who realised they were high-performance single fins, but they were sweet, and you could probably put thrusters on them, and they'd work just as a thruster.
Yeah.
But that was all about pulling their turns, getting length in their turns. But it's too true. I started surfing on a 7/6 single fin. I missed the longboard period by about 2 years. Right.
Oh, so you started on a shortboard like Shane Aran. I was talking to Shane about that, and he was saying that.
Yeah, but my first board was a 7/6 single fin.
Wow.
3 inches thick.
Like that's sort of primitive by today's standard, but back then that was state of the art.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And did your first board you made it for yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, I made boards for myself, then realised my boards aren't good enough. So I ordered some custom orders from Jacko and then Tom Blaxall in Western Australia. So I had the privilege of writing good boards whilst I was making boards for myself. And then I was making boards, as I said earlier, in my dad's garage for all the crew at school, down the road. And the funny thing is that, I was feeling, young ranger from Perth, not really getting chicks interested, and the cool crew were down, started making surfboards. Holy shit. It just turned on a dime. It was amazing. It was a really good experience.
Now, Nev, you just said, you didn't, at first you thought your boards were better. So by getting those boards and writing them and then writing your own, is that the way you sort of made your own feedback for yourself to work out what was going on?
Because I could tell the difference between my boards and then picking up and disseminating the boards that I just bought and then trying to emulate. As I grew as a surfboard shaper, I used to wait. There was Star Surf Shop in Perth, and he would get a delivery of Barracuda Poonies, Hot Butters, McCoys, all of the boards from that era, Renos, and they would rock up. And then Dave, who used to own it, used to say, "Fine, Nev, just come in," and I would go in there with calipers
and measure them up.
I'd measure them up, and I'd go home and I'd go, "Holy shit, I'm doing it all wrong," And it was a huge experience for me in that period. I was just I've always been an average surfer. I've never, I've done comps and stuff.
You go all right.
Yeah, but I'm not one of those guys that won all these events and then like listening to Shane as a surfboard shaper and so many other guys. But the beauty about that for me, sort of jumping ahead a bit, is that I listen to people. I don't say this is what you should be writing because I rip and you should be writing what I'm writing.
Yeah, because that doesn't work because everybody's different.
Totally. You got to listen. You got to learn to listen.
Yeah.
So it's been a great experience in learning the craft from a real organic way. Just learning it myself. Worked out well.
That's unreal, mate. Now, what did you find you learnt when you were at Hono's? Because you would have been popping out a lot of boards, probably because he had the Connection brand. I don't know if you did, because Phil Myers was in the other day. He was saying he did Connection and something else and something else. So you would have been doing a few different brands of boards. Or
I was.
Doing a lot of boards, probably.
I've got a photo of Hono walking out of the store. It's an awesome one. Yeah. And there's 6 boards on the rack. They're all boards that I've done. And there's Connections up there. There's Honesees. There was no Nevilles or Nevs or whatever. I hadn't yet done a brand. Yeah. So I was riding Nev Hyman on the tail of the boards. Yeah. But I've got a couple of boards in my collection. An awesome Stinger that was a Connection. Or was it Hono? No, it was a Hono. And I've got the classic 7/6 red and yellow lightning bolt on the deck board, a Hono. So I was busy, but I was also doing the lot. Yeah. I was shaping, sanding, pin lining, everything.
Oh, Macca was there, wasn't he? The old Macca, the heavy metal, was it?
Yeah, Macca was there. But
Rest in peace, Macca.
I was doing it all. Yeah.
Wow.
That's what Hono really wanted. He didn't have to worry about it. Just
get one bloke, work like crazy and
That's
get it.
Mate.
But so I suppose by doing so much, the repetitiveness, but that you sort of learn a few things and you could put in a little experiment here and there?
That was before really, how it evolved was, that was 77. 78, Bridget and I went to Hawaii, and that opened my eyes. I remember walking in to the Lightning Bolt shop on the North Shore of Hawaii going, holy shit, are you kidding? Look at these works of art from a shaper's perspective and a artistry perspective. And I went, I can do this. And what do I need to do? I need to start shaping boards for guys that rip. Yeah. So I came home and I had that in with the North End board riders. Yeah. And I started making boards for all of those guys. I was already making boards for them, but by 78, 79, I had a lot of young guys on the Gold Coast riding my boards.
That's still while you're still at Hono's?
No. So I didn't get any, apart from you. I left Hono's only after about 6 months. So I was there for 77.
Because I remember Phil was there too, or the boards were there. I think. Well, that might have been Miami Surf. When
So Phil came over in 1980 or something like that, But, so I realised, I'll tell you a funny thing. Yeah. So I realised I wasn't really in with the in crowd on the Gold Coast yet. I had a lot to prove. But because I was in with the North End Board Riders guys, and I started making a lot of boards for them, and they started drifting down to Burleigh. And because I got Shane Egan, the airbrush artist, the brilliant artist, to design me a logo at last.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the logo, the fish logo. So Shane Egan came up with that.
Yeah, and you know that little green gables house down at Tugun on the left-hand side? It's on the lower road. That's where Shane was living. I remember walking in that front door going, Shane, how's my logo? I was so excited because Phil and I did some really good logos in WA with Odyssey surfboards, but this time now it was Neville Hyman. Yeah. I still wasn't Nev yet, right?
Oh, so it wasn't Nev, it was Neville Hyman.
Neville Hyman, yeah. I mean, who would name your son Neville Hyman? Anyway, there's a whole lot of stories. At least you weren't called
Buster.
My nickname was Buster, and Phil and I actually did a last day of high school. We did a air guitar band called at the amphitheatre at Bentley Senior High School. Buster Hyman and the Penetrators.
Oh, no.
We didn't even get to open because their deputy head just went, shut it down, shut it.
I didn't know you were a bit of a rock and roller either, mate.
Yeah, it's too funny. So anyway, I had my logo, right? And I started, and Guy Umrod got boards off me, and then there was a whole bunch of guys.
Yeah, because mate, you've had some magnificent team riders over there. We'll go into those later, but keep with the logo thing.
And so the fish logo was really good, and so 78, 79, 1980, I started realising I don't like Neville anymore. Yeah, so I did a logo that was Nev Hyman, like in a script, all together in one word, and that was Nev's kind of better, and then. Where I hit pay dirt was I just went Nev, N-E-V, that iconic N-E-V lettering. Yeah. And I've been in marketing all my life. I look back and know that was the whether it means anything or not, Nev could be simply an acronym for whatever. Yeah. Because I've travelled and people come up to me, when I was doing really well, and people going, "Oh, hello, I didn't know you were. I didn't know it was a person." Yeah. So anyway, so the Nev logo it was perfect for the early 80s because everything was big, bold and beautiful and big hair, big everything. So with that big Nev on the nose of my board, I remember paddling out at Burleigh going, holy shit, I think I own this place. And I'm not saying that from an ego point of view because there was so many other shapers better known than me.
Well, Dwayne was on your boards. Yeah, Peter Harris was on your boards.
Yeah.
But between you and Dick Van, I think you had the market cornered.
But the thing is, when you paddled out, everybody that paddled past you could see the logo on the nose of the board, like in a big. You couldn't miss it. And someone takes off on a wave, you're up on the hill. Oh, that's on a Nev.
Yeah, it's distinctive, very distinctive logo.
It was a big winner for me from that perspective. So logos are everything.
And so after you at Honos, you thought, well, basically, hey, I'm getting this much. I can do this all myself. Is that what you sort of came thinking? Yeah. Hey, why do I need to do it with someone else?
Yeah, absolutely. I set up a surfboard factory at Bundall. Yeah. I've had 2 surfboard factories that were brothels. The one at Bundall was a brothel. The one at Mermaid Beach.
You're saying something in there?
I know. It could be a bit of a trend. Yeah. So I did that factory while I was also making boards in the horse shed. Yeah. But then I started making a lot of boards and I wanted to travel. So I went to Nicky Maz at Surfers Avenue. Yep. So I think I've had the best address for any surfboard manufacturer on the planet. Yeah. So my address was, and I embellished it on my business card, it was 10 Surfers Avenue, Mermaid Beach, Surfers Paradise, Gold Coast, Australia. And I travelled with that card and people going, what the... What? Where
That's
do you
a
live?
surf address. Yeah. Everything's got surf in it.
It was so funny. I mean, Surfers Paradise was a little bit...
Well, mate, like the 80s, that was really the heyday for Nev. Like you had, like I was saying, and some of the sprays your boards had, I did find... Did you go, like, purposely out to make them bright and get sprays done? Because I always noticed the Nev boards, like, There was Dwayne's famous brick in the wall board,
Yeah.
you know, another brick in the wall. And there's all these boards. Your boards always had colour and brightness to them. Actually, I can't think of too many white Nevs, except maybe later on when the pros were, you know, and they didn't get that.
Well, when the top 3 or 4 clothing companies said no more logos on the nose, which is we'll cover in a second. But the actual the whole thing with the team riders and the logos and everything, and it was a journey I was going through. And what I mean by that is that sometimes there's a bit of that hoax thing where you don't feel like you're really one of the boys. So so it was a long, slow road. But in 1982, I thought, okay, I'm doing okay with some really good surfers on the Gold Coast, but I'm not going to have a world champion on my boards. That's why I left Western Australia in the first place, because I knew I'd never make anything of my career in making surfboards if I stayed in WA. Yeah. You can do it now, but I couldn't do it back then. I knew I had to be here. Yeah. So then I went, okay, if I'm not going to get in with the boys at D-Bar, you know, and I was kind of in with the guys at Burleigh, that was good. Yeah. North End guys, yep, for sure. So I thought, fuck it, I'm going to go and travel. So I just went on the road. So I did that first trip with Bridget. Then then I did a 6-month trip around the world, and I basically shaped around the world. Everywhere I went, I shaped surfboards and met people. Spent a lot of time in Hawaii shaping on the North Shore at right there at Pipe at one of the shaping bays there. Just the amount of people I met was crazy. Then I'd come home and I remember driving down to D-Bar and parking my combi at D-Bar to go for a surf, and I came in, my windscreen was waxed. Something like blow in, go home.
Because you had WA plates on it still?
Well, no. Obviously, and I almost know who it is, and I don't care because they're all mates now. They're all total mates. But to get into the D-Bar scene or the Coolangatta scene was like off the charts hard. I mean, the gurus, the legends of surfing, the legends of shaping, they were not all down that end, far from it, but it was a much more clicky thing to do. And I remember getting out of the water sort of laughing when I saw the wax gun. I went, well, I've just bypassed you guys. And again, that's not my ego talking. I'm just going, I don't need to bow and scrape to be cool with you guys. I'm just going to go and have international surfers ride my boards. And by 82, 83, I was shaping boards for everybody. And
well, I remember Sonny on your boards. I remember when Sonny had your boards, and I was sort of going like, wow, because it's like something to have someone of Sonny's, reputation and that, but on a Nevin, you'd sort of expect him to be on a Hawaiian board. Well,
Sonny was a bit later. So really what the tipping point was for me was, really, the tipping point was Ian Cairns. So, and then Kutut Mender, of all people, and I'll explain that in a special way. Kanga was my hero in WA. He was 4 years older.
He was the king of WA surfing anyway, wasn't he?
Oh, and, I had an experience with Kanga that blew my mind. So I was still at school, right? Yeah. I'm 16. I'm making surfboards in a house on Canning Highway, not my house, in some other house, not in the Dad's garage. I come up from Dad's garage.
You've already wrecked Dad's garage.
Now we're wrecking a house. We rented a house, and I'm making boards in this house on Canning Highway. And I got a great photo of me and this other guy, Paul Rogers, in the house. It's just awesome. And there's a knock at the door. I go to the door. It's Ian Cairns at the door. I'd seen him from a distance, and he said, "G'day, mate," to me when I was about 14.
Yeah, but having him knock on your door is
knocks
a whole
on the door,
thing.
like Kelly Slater knocking on your door, just saying, hey, Nev, I understand you're making some really cool boards, and I'd like you to maybe, if you want to display your boards at the Perth Concert Hall, we're having a surf trade show." And, of course, he's coming to see me because he's trying to put the dollars together to make the trade. So, put that into the context. It completely blew my mind. It was like I cannot believe this just happened. So, and that's when he was going to surf Kaina Point. He had a 10.6 board, air tanks and everything, and he was going to go and have a go. So then he asked me to make him some boards. I was up here by then. Yeah. So in 1980, he asked me to make him some boards. So I did. And it was when I was fooling around with 3 fins, but not necessarily a thruster. But I made
a twin and a stabilizer sort of thing.
A smaller single fin and 2 larger stabilizers.
Oh, right, okay.
So that board, the boards that I made him, it was when Kanga was in the bronze Aussies. And he surfed that at Bells in 18-foot Bells, the classic Bells thing that Simon introduced the thruster at.
Yeah.
And that board of Kangas is still in Florida, and I'm going to copy that board as a replica. But the point being about it is that it was as close as possible to a thruster without being a thruster when Simon introduced the thruster. Simon blew me away. When I saw Simon's board, I went, oh my God. Like he jumped, without even me knowing, he jumped that extra mile ahead. Because we were a lot of people were heading down that road.
Yeah, because I remember Zappa had the twin with the little stable, his $15,000 board. Well, we call it Marcus board. Remember my mate Marcus Moore?
Of course. Yeah.
Well, Marcus, he had it. He got it off Zappa, and it was the board that he won the Coke trials on.
Oh, my.
So it's called the $15,000. So he got it, and he goes, here, you have this. And for 1 month, it was the best board I ever had.
Right.
And then after a month, I gave him, brother, get rid of this, because I learned how to slide it. Once I learned how to slide it, it wasn't any good anymore, because it kind of must have behaved like a thruster. And it went through everybody at Nobbies and came around. And so everybody was sort of getting near there. But Simon got there first.
Way ahead, and he deserves everything. Take nothing away from him by saying that Kanga was riding 3 fins. Yeah. But what happened then was, that was in 1981. Yeah, early March 1980. No, was
March, April, Bells,
Yeah. So early 82 at the Stubbies.
Yeah.
I've made Kutut Mender aboard, and it's like bright as, because I hung out with Mender at the On Bali Pro in the year before. And it was crazy. I made this beautiful, I really put a lot of energy into the bright spray, the whole thing. So I got the board, and I was meeting Kutut down at Burleigh. So I go down, and he's not there, of course. He's in the water. Like, I meant to be giving him his board, and he's surfing. So the grandstand was set up, but it hadn't started yet. So I got the board, and I tactfully leant it up against the pine tree right in front of the grandstand, and sat up on the grandstand just watching, waiting for Kutut to come in. Bertelmann walks past. He walks past the front of the grandstand, goes straight over to the board, picks it up, puts it under his arm, checking it out, looks out at the surf, puts it back down again as it's leaning against a tree, and walks off. I'm wetting myself. Larry Bertelmann just picked up my board, right? So I'm all excited. Now I'm going, well, come on, Kutut. Like, I want to go for a surf too. Get your ass in here. Yeah. So I'm standing next to the board now, and I'm looking out. And then there's a tap on my shoulder. And I turn around. It's Sean Thompson. Wow. Sean goes, hey, bro, so did you make this board? And I said, yeah. He said, Bert just told me about it. Could you make me some boards?
Bert just so Larry Bertelmann's seen your board and then going, hey, Sean, have a look at this.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it blows my mind when I repeat the story, because it sounds like it's just too good to be true. It's exactly how it happened. And so I took some dimensions down, and I said, yeah, Sean, look, no worries, mate, and I'll get onto it, and I'll give you a call in a couple of days. And he said, a couple of days? I said, yeah. And so he said, thanks, bro. And then he walked away. No conversation, just. Yeah. And so I walked over to my combi, wound up the windows, put my head down. Fuck! Oh, my God! Sean Thompson's just ordered 3 boards off me.
Yeah. That's a world champ, ordering boards off you.
So I went down, I made him 3 boards and finished them in 2 days.
Well, yeah.
So this is another funny part. So then I go down to Kira, because he was down at Kira. Yeah. And we're in the Kira car park, at the little one before you to get the hut.
Yeah.
And so I pull the boards out of my combi. Here you go, mate. And he's checking them out. Great, fantastic, and blah, blah, blah. And so deal, and he paid me for them, because he paid. And about a few months later, he took them down to Joanna and Bells and everything. And I've still got this to the only time I've ever had a letter, maybe even an email from a pro surfer saying, thanks so much for the effort you put into those boards, some feedback on the boards, and what Sean said was, hope to see you at J Bay one day. So that's hanging on my wall. Yeah. Now, then I heard all these rumours on the coast that, that Nev had been giving boards away.
Oh, right. So let's go see Nev get a free board.
No. It was the other shapers on the Gold Coast that were a bit pissed off, or couldn't understand. Maybe not pissed off. Yeah. Couldn't understand why would they be asking me to make them boards. But what happened from that was that I'm telling you, all the South Africans, all the Hawaiians, the Brazilians, they all started ordering boards off me.
I remember some Brazilians on your board. This is before there were any actual, it's not before the Brazilian storm. But there were some good surfers.
Absolutely. And the Hawaiian guys, the list goes on. I had everybody riding my boards. And that's actually how Never Say Never and Never Mind happened.
Never look back.
And never look back. Yeah. Because because I'm on. So that was 82. So that was the start of my travels.
So you actually must have got the hold of doing the thruster pretty quickly, mate.
I just put everything into that.
So you did a lot of study with it.
I hated twin fins because I'm tall and skinny.
Yeah.
On your backhand, I couldn't make a 20 work. I don't have the grunt to make a 20 work.
Yeah.
I really wanted the thruster to work, and so it was an incredible amount of fine tuning, and I had the guys to work with now. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I made a bunch of boards for in '82 for Michael Ho, Vince Klein, Mark Liddell, Bert, and a bunch of other guys, and then I went to J Bay, and Tommy would have remembered this. So I rock up at J Bay in July of '82, and Sean and Tom and Aaron Chang are there doing a photo shoot for Surfing Magazine.
Yeah.
You should see my photos of J Bay. I was surfing and hanging with Sean and Tommy. Obviously, I wasn't surfing as good as them, but after every session, we were going back to the photographer up to Aaron's place and watching video of us surfing and stuff. And I remember Sean saying to me, Nev, so in the at J Bay in the barrel brew, you got to stay the high line. You got to stay the high line. It's not burly heads, brew. It's burly heads. You stay low. You stay low. J Bay, you stay high. I remember him saying that. Was so funny. And then and we got it 8 to 10 feet, as good as it gets. And I've got photos to prove. And one particular day, Sean and I and Tommy, Sean surfed for 7 hours. I surfed for 5.
Wow.
And when I came in, my feet were so numb that I'm walking up the rocks and then go up to the car park. Sean had come in just before me and grabbed something to eat, and he was back out there. But before he went back out there, we're talking about the surf, and he looks down at my feet and he goes, Nev, check your feet. There's blood everywhere on my feet.
Because you couldn't feel them.
And this is we used to do texture decks?
Yeah.
So I had a twin fin, which I shouldn't have had, and it was solid 6 to 8 foot J Bay. And J Bay, you do the longest bottom turns you'll ever do in your life. You just hold it, and then let it go.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you roll your toe, you roll your front foot and your back foot like that. So you're actually pressuring these 2 points on your big toe and there.
Yeah.
And I was doing that for hours. When I came in, I had 4 blood blisters that were burned deep, 3 mil deep, on that my big toe.
But you've been surfing for 5 hours, and how many waves do you reckon you got in that 5 hours?
There's no current. It's just
there was no current.
No current. You just paddle back out and get another one. It was it was mindless. It was one of those sessions where you're just screaming, going, "This is not even happening."
Wow.
I've said it many times. J Bay and Burley are the best waves in the world, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, it was just an amazing experience to be there with Sean and Tommy and the whole thing. I've got this amazing photos of Sean and Tommy out there on that particular day. So I travelled a lot, and then went
came back to the Gold Coast again, then set up again, or
I just kept coming back to the Goldie, and then I set up. I had the factory with Living Water, so I was working with Nick Maz down there doing my boards in his factory. Yep. And so that enabled me to just uproot and go whenever I wanted to.
Oh, cool. So it gave you that freedom.
Yeah, totally. And that's what I needed. Right at that point in my career, if I hadn't have capitalised on that, the following year, that's when I was doing boards for Danky Aloha and I forget. Just recently, I had a guy, Davey Boy Gonzalez, who used to be on the Pro Tour with Sonny and the boys. He's 45 or something, from Hawaii. And he does my boards in Hawaii. And we're down at the factory that we're setting up, and I had all my records of all the boards I've shaped for well-known surfers. So not everybody, but just. Yeah. And I've got 4 boxes full of cards with all the dimensions, and they're all mixed up. And I said, hey, Davey, could you organise these for me? Just take them home. I'll pay you. Just put them in alphabetical order. He comes back the next day and he was like white. He goes, I cannot believe who you've shaped for. This is ridiculous. And shapers tend to forget, in fact, who. And I guess I must have shaped boards for him or something like that. So again, this is not an ego thing. I'm just saying the facts. And all that travelling got me out of the Gold Coast enough to be recognised as an international shaper when there were shapers on the Gold Coast that had the skill, the reputation, the team riders that could have easily have done what I did.
Like Murray Burton, for instance, Muzza.
Of course.
What
a legend shaper. And but the direct result of that period, 1982-83, was my contracts in Japan, which completely
Japan was really big for you, wasn't it?
Oh my God! So what happened?
How did you get into that?
Yeah, this is gold. So I'm down there at Living Water making boards for all the pros. They're all. I'm a bit shocked actually. Yeah. And then this Japanese guy comes by, Kazunori Kaneko, who I found out was the surfer pole winner in Japan, really good surfer. And he goes, Mr. Nev, I have surfers, Shuji Kasiya and Takao Kuga. Please make them surfboard. I'm going, sorry, mate, I don't really have time. I've got to get these boards done. The comp's coming up in less than a week, and I don't think I can do it. And he goes, Mr. Nev, please. And he comes back the next day. If you make board and they make main event, you're very famous in Japan. And I'm going, okay, all right. So I made these two boards. Takao made the main event, and if you remember what Shuji Kasi used to surf like, he used to surf like Curran. The guy was such a good surfer, and he just missed the main event. That was March. I was in Japan a couple of months later, and doing 100 boards and getting paid really well. And then I hand shaped.
How many? 100 a week or something? No,
I was doing. When I arrived in Japan the first time, there was a few shapes. Alburn was going there. There was Thornton. 3 or 4. Thornton was kind of going a little bit later. Yeah. But all these guys would come and they'd stay for 2 or 3 months and they'd do a surf trip and they'd shape 100 boards or 50 boards or something like that. And my first contract was 100 boards, so I was there for. I was doing 6 a day, and I could do 6 a day pretty easily.
That's pretty hectic.
Yeah, and they were full hand shapes with wings and belly channels.
Yeah, because what people don't understand, back then, there were no machines cutting them out for you. It's like get the planer, start with a block of foam, and
start with a blank, and I'd outline 2 or 3 at a time, and then I would machine 2 or 3 at a time, and then I would finish 2 or 3 at a time. And the Japanese guys were such artisans. The quality of the boards in Japan then was better than anywhere else in the world, bar none. In fact, a board came by me recently with Mika Murphy had it, and it was a 1986 Nev Ernie's board from Japan, and it felt like brand new. It felt so light, and it was so beautifully glassed. It was and beautifully sprayed with fluoros and the whole thing. So I started doing that, but between 83 and 88, I was going once or twice a year, and by the time I finished in 88, I was shaping 15 boards a day. My fingertips were bleeding. I would start at 6:30 in the morning, finish at about 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. But I was making a fortune.
That takes a toll on the body, doesn't it, Nev? Totally. Like I was talking to Phil Myers, and he said his whoever looks after him, they're trying to get him to stand better. And he goes, it's not going to happen because I've been swinging a planer and I've been standing on this foot for that many years. You've get a bit of that, or
well. I'm glad you raised that because before I get to that, what that caused, the shaping, in fact, it was 16. The last day I shaped 16 boards.
Wow.
Now, when and again, full shapes, all cut out with a saw, wings, belly channels, swallowtails, everything. But it's like being an athlete. You get it. So I would outline 5 boards, then I would hand saw out the outlines of 5 boards. And so I'd shape 5 boards, then I would have a bit of a break. Then I would shape another 5 boards, a bit of a break, and another 5 boards. But the point being is that if you have to do a marathon or if you're an Ironman or something, you have those second winds. And I know the second wind's coming. Yeah. I would be 3/4 of the way through 8, 9, and 10 of 15 boards and be like, have an anxiety attack.
Kind of
I
hitting
can't
the wall.
do this. I can't do this. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, boom. And the other thing about it is that I said to all the Japanese guys who were so nice, don't bother me. Don't even ask me for a coffee. Don't even open the door, because if my pencil is not in that spot and my block is not over there and I'm going clockwise around the board nonstop all day, and you open the door and you speak to me for 2 minutes, that'll cost me 10 minutes in production time. You do that to me 5 times, I've lost $100 US, $200 US just by, please, no thank you. So you become an athlete. But the thing about what, who said that? It was Phil.
Phil Mize.
Phil Mize, of course. So, and Phil, he's a prolific shaper, but and a brilliant shaper actually. But I found myself. This is like going ahead now. A little bit about health and wellness. In 2011, I used to have a belly board in after 20 minutes sitting out of Burley. My back would lock up after 20 minutes. I'd get a few waves in and then I couldn't even stand up. And I remember being in Bali with my son in 2012, almost in tears on the beach, going watching him surf, and I could only last 20 minutes. And I'd seen chiropractors, everybody. So this is just a little episode on health and wellness about your back. I spent a fortune on chiropractors and everything, and I eventually went, and who all said, oh, your shoulders are this, and your neck's that, and your posture's this, and that's why you've got all these problems. So I went and got an MRI about 10 years ago. And the doctor came out and he said, I've got good news and bad news, which I've never had in my life. Good news is I wish I had your spine. This guy was like in his 30s. I was 55 or something. And he goes, I can see you've never played contact sports. And I said, no, I haven't. I played Aussie rules, but kind of contact. Golf, surfing, mainly surfing. And so when I explained to him what I was doing was shaping, going clockwise, leant over the board with a planer, and the neck down the whole time, doing that, and then surfing with a hyper-mobile lower back. When you're doing that all the time, everything's cool. When you stop doing one or the other, or both, and then you start doing it again, what your body does, if it's muscular, it actually gives you a warning. Because the doctor said to me, you've got no issues with your back or your shoulders or your neck. You're fine, right? So if you've got a problem with your back and you can be pretty sure that it's not skeletal, then if it's muscular, it's basically what you have to do is reset your muscles. It's like resetting your computer. And so I went to see this back doctor, and it's called needling. He laid me down, and I was in pain, and there in my glutes, in my butt, in my, and he said, now don't turn around. So I turn around. He's got this needle that's this big, right?
Oh no!
And he goes in and goes, and into each of those spots with anaesthetic, and he did it 4 times over 3 months. It cost me, $150 a time, nothing in comparison to what it was costing me with chiropractors. Never had a problem with it since. Basically, it resets. It gives you. It takes away your muscle memory. So, and now, even if I don't have any problems, and the only time I had problems after that was where I was about to travel again. It started coming back at me again, and I went and saw him one more time, and he shot me up with not pethidone, cortisone, one time, and that was 2013. Never had a problem with it since. So. Phil's right with posture, with shaping and things like that. It can really work you. But my fingertips used to bleed.
Wow,
at the end
hectic.
Of it. So the whole thing with Japan was just such an incredible experience because I met all these pro surfers. I was making really good money. I was coming back from Japan with cash with a dual tax situation. And I bought a beachfront property down at Palm Beach.
Not a bad time. That's Richard Harvey told me a story. He won the Par Bendel, and you probably been to his house at Dawn Parade, Miami, or somewhere around there. He got that house from the Par Bendel because I was trying to work out at the 50th year of the Par Bendel. I said, because he won it, I said, and the prize money in 1973 was $1,500, the same as first prize was then. I said, what'd you do with your $1,500? I said, because that'd have to be the same as a brand new car back in the day. He goes, I put 1,000 of it as a 10% deposit on a house and land at Miami. So that money was actually like $100,000.
Yeah.
If you look at today's figures. So it's amazing, like the money and the way things are and prize money, how it's, sort of come the full circle. Mate, with your shaping, like you've got the Nev brand, it's cooking, and then all of a sudden, Nev's gone. You know, like what happened there, mate?
I did a couple of things before that, like develop the computer shaping systems that every shaper on the planet uses.
Yeah.
A friend of mine recently said to me, Rob, photographer, he goes, Rob Layton.
Yeah.
Goes, Nev, stop being bashful about what you've done.
Yeah.
Fucking own it.
Yeah.
So I'm going, yeah, okay, all right, I'm going to own it.
Yeah.
So the couple of things that I did in my career, as we all know, like 88, and this is a long story, so I'm sounding, because it could take a while. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but in 88, I had my little surfboard shaping room down at Miami.
Yep.
And I think I was one of the first guys to have a shaping room with a window, so you could stand outside and watch. And I had Munger and Sonny and Craig Scat and all these guys writing for me. And I had I couldn't keep up with demand. So Tim Bissell, the shaper from California, rocked into town, and we were just chatting, talking about it and all. And I heard that there was a shaping machine in Sydney at Force 9.
Yeah.
So Tim and I flew down to Sydney, went and saw the machine, and I couldn't believe it. It was a pantograph. So a finished board on one side, a sensor on the other, with a little grinder on the other side, with a big gantry that you push back and forward, and that copied a board. Then you flip it over and it would copy the deck and copy the bottom. I couldn't believe it. I ordered 100 blanks right on the spot because I was starting to make a lot of boards, and the guys who built that were the Smith brothers, Graham Smith and his brother. And from then on, they were driving up the coast with a truck full of blanks once a month, just for me, for nobody else. And so I was really the first guy to start doing volume.
Mass producing, basically.
Yeah. But they were copies of my boards. I had a range of about 20 boards that the glassed. So the board gets copied. It's a finished board, never to be surfed, but a finished board from 6.0 to 7.6 or something.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing all my team boards from and everything. It was work. It was fantastic. So that eventually became Lucifer or Lucy, because we were always having problems. Then we moved from Miami to Central Drive, and that's when I was really doing about 100 boards a week. And so we had Lucy out the back doing, and this guy rocks in one day. His name's Mickey Langenbach, German guy, for a job as the general manager of Nev. And he didn't get the job, but he came out the back and had a look at Lucy. He said he's an engineer, he can fix it. So I worked with Mickey from 1992 to 2005. We developed the best pantograph from the original using German engineered stuff. Yeah. I paid for everything.
So, mate, for those who don't know pantograph, what is
a pantograph? Is like a key cutting thing for surfboards. Oh, so you've got one master key and one that you're copying.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And it's not a computer operated machine. It's manually operated with a machine with a grinder on one side and a sensor on the other. Things were good. I was selling by the late 90s, early 2000s. I was selling machines around the world. It was known as Nev's machine, not what it eventually became, which was the APS 3000. I paid to have Emmanuel Vimlin, who is the designer behind Shape 3D, to come out from France twice. I paid for all the overheads down at Tweed for Mickey to develop. There was only one customer, me, so all of those boards were being put through the machine and it was being developed rapidly.
Yep.
Eventually the pantograph wasn't enough, and some other shapers around the world had already started with computer shaping. And I went, we have the best pantograph. We've got the best boards coming off the machine. I remember taking pre-shapes to trade shows in California, actually earlier, so in about 1990, and Rusty and Al American just walking in my booth going, oh my God, what the hell's this?
Yeah.
It's the first time anybody had done a true pre-shape. And I coined the phrase, the pre-shape and the ghost shaper.
So the pre-shape, that was when they had the sort of the ruts in them, like the little ridges all through them, not,
more so that they were held, the holding mechanism had little things sticking out the side on the nose and two on each rail and then one on the tail. So there was things you had to cut off. It didn't turn the whole rail. So there was it was 60-40, still 40% of the board still had to be shaped. but the majority of it was there, and it wasn't one of the machines that you may have heard about where they've got two pieces of plywood and a router.
Yeah.
And just, no, it wasn't that. This was actually really good. But eventually we turned that pantograph into a CNC machine using a program. And I copped a lot of flack for that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there were full-page
pop
ads.
outs, blah,
Oh,
blah,
my
blah, blah,
God.
blah, blah.
And
now everything's that, isn't it?
well, you know, we talk about Murray, and I remember Murray Burton doing an article in Surfing Life magazine with me, and I was saying the future of surfboard shaping will be using a machine. Yeah. And Murray said absolutely not. And we had an argument, a friendly argument that. And then years later, Murray's one of the biggest exponents of using pre-shapes and shaping machines. And in fact, he had a van there for a while. I remember his van that had a data sheet of AccuShaper on the side. But there's a lot more detail to this that I won't go into now. Yeah. But basically what happened was I had a fallout with Mickey, and because I was growing my brand again. So in 2000, I was I'd just been through 2001. I'd just been through a divorce, and I was rebuilding my brand. So I refitted the shop up at Mermaid Beach, and had these grand plans for doing stuff around the world. But one of my grand plans was to have small shaping systems all around the world, a network, which we called Mobius, and then individual surfers could order their board and have it made locally anywhere in the world, but it would be authentically a Nev because it would come straight off my file. And so I did that. I ordered a machine to be put in my shop at Mermaid Beach. I'd set up the shop so you could sit on a couch with a computer and the big screen on the wall, and you could sit there, and I would design the board for the customer. Then we'd go upstairs, machine the board. We'd use UV glassing to finish the board right there in front of the surfer. So that was my plan, to propagate that around the world. And for whatever reason, Mickey Langenbach decided that I was moving too fast for him, and he cut me out. And I don't mind saying that. I'm saying it publicly because he cut me out. He ripped me off. Yeah. And I was going to litigate against him, but I delayed the litigation because in the meantime, I've started Firewire. Now, why did I start Firewire? Because Mickey shafted me. I had a business plan. I had raised capital. I was doing this plan around the world. I was using my shop as the showcase. The Quicksilver Pro was coming up. I was going to show the world what I was planning on doing. I'd ordered my machine to be delivered to the factory, and February 2005, Mickey says, "You're out." And I went, "You kidding? What? We hadn't even had an argument. There was no negative feelings or anything like that. It was like, you're out." And I'm going, "Well, what do you mean?" "You can't do that." "Yes, I can." And he gave me back the $30,000 for the cost of the machine to be built in a check. And I'm going, "Well, I can't have my machine then? Is that what you're saying?" So now I'm stuck. I've got investors. I've got everybody's coming. I'm making the big board. I've got the 40-foot surfboard out the back of my factory as part of the promo. Everything's heading in the right direction. Now I don't have a machine. So I heard about Bert Berger, flew to WA, saw what he did, bought his company, brought his family out here, and we then made, in 2005, about 40 boards, all Nevs and Bert Berger's logo, and they were the original Firewires. So, and we gave about...
Is that with the parabolic rails and all that? Yep.
Yep. So we gave all the top pros, from Andy Kelly, Taj, like everyone, Nick, Joel, they all had one. In fact, the photo you see of everywhere of Mick Fanning doing an air in Indo with a really bright bottom of a board with all the palm trees in the background, that's actually one of the original boards. And it had a Nev on it, but DH airbrushed out the Nev and put love it.
Like you do, yeah.
Like you do, no big deal. But that was really the start. So then it was Nev with this new tech. Yeah. So we did the trade shows in... So I travelled the world with these boards.
And you're still producing Nev Hyman surfboards at the same time, or Nevs?
Yeah, so, Nev Future Shapes. I had my shop. Everything was going really good. And so I was then travelling the world with this new tech. So I went to Europe. I went to all the events. I went to California. I got, I was doing things like jumping off the backs of trucks onto these boards and And
I remember that. Yeah.
yeah.
Someone said, "Oh, you shouldn't do that."
No. And we sent one board. This is classic. We sent a board to Florida to a trade show. No board bag. We just put a tag on it and shipped it. It got there. It had tyre marks on it. It had a few scratches. The nose was chipped. Nothing wrong with it. It was hilarious. Anyway, all that happened. And then we did the trade show early 2000. I surfed a big board in California. Got a lot of fun, and at Snapper for the.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
that one,
that's another story in itself. We'll come back and do that one another day. But then, I'm in France, and I've got the board. I'm with Tom Curran, and he's got one, and Sonny got one, and everything. But I'm in Hossegor, and I'm up there in the big plage area, and I got the board, and I literally throw it into the wind as hard as like an arrow. It spins like this in front of everybody, make sure it's clear, nobody got hit. Lands in the car park, bounces around, and people are just freaking. Where's the police? What's wrong with this guy? You know. So they were really strong and light. Yeah. But what happened was after the trade show in California, and there was such an impact at that trade show about this new tech that Nev was doing, and I had. Matthew Perrin and Dougal Walker on board by then from Billabong. And after the event, and then Mark Price, who used to ride my boards back in the early days in 80s from South Africa, came on board too. I get home, and then Dougal gets me at the airport and he says, "Nev, we had a great trade show. Everybody loves these boards. We can't call it Nev. So we're going to have to find another name for it because Nev's an older brand now."
Yeah.
So
the old brand.
Yeah. So I went in within a couple of minutes. I said, "Yep, I'm in. That's fine." Yeah. So it took us a while to find a new brand name, and Mark Price came up.
And where did it come up from, mate? Firewire.
Well, we hired an agency. We tried everything, and this is like a long time ago. And even then, it was hard to find names that hadn't already been taken. And you never call a company a generic name. Forget it. If you're going to call your new brand, your new company, something that's generic, like polyurethane surfboards or what, I don't know. Don't do it. Call it something like Nev. Something's different because people will remember it. So Mark Price walks into the office one day. We're all sitting there, and he walks in, he's got a cable in his hand, and he's an Apple guy, right? He walks in, he goes, "What about Firewire? This is a Firewire cable."
Oh, wow.
And we all laughed and went, "What? Nah, hang on a sec." And then he said, no, listen, Firewire. It's balanced, fire, wire. It makes sense. We started calling it Firewire. We designed the logos, the whole thing. Then we get a cease and desist letter from Apple.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
how can they prove that they own Firewire?
Well, this is the point. We argued that it's not Apple, it's not surfboards. Yeah. Are you ever going to use this for surfboards or sunglasses or clothing? And they admitted no, and they let us run with it. So
that's good.
So that's what happened to Nev. Nev disappeared from 2006 to 2018.
And, mate, the parabolic rails and that with timber rails, how'd you get that idea?
Well, that was Bert Berger.
That was Bert Berger.
Absolutely. Yep. All credit to Bert.
Yep.
And the beauty about that, at the time, we were the first to remove the stringer. And you've got tensile modulus, which is this strength from nose to tail. Then you've got torsional flex, rail to rail. A PU surfboard with a stringer has zero tensile modulus, but it's got really good torsional flex because the stringer kind of holds it in the middle, and as you bottom turn, the inside rail twists and the outside rail twists off. Yep. So the beauty about Firewire is that it allowed the board to have tensile modulus, the flex in the middle of the board, as well as the flex on the rail, and the flex on the rail was stiffer than a PU, but it sprang back quicker than a PU. That theoretically, that's what, and people would feel that.
Well, the big thing that sort of helped the Firewire become a brand was Taj surfing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, because Taj, everyone looked like, what the Taj surfing,
Well, Andy Irons at J Bay was heard to be in a state of panic, running up the point going, "What the fuck is Taj riding?" He was screaming it at the top of his voice. So I might be embellishing it a little bit, but the way Taj was surfing it at J Bay, this is after he's come second at Bells, I think, in that year. And so that was 2006. 2007, he won Bells and J Bay on his firewires. First time that a non-traditional surfboard had been.
Because there's a whole lot of technology there with the firewires, isn't there? A whole lot of stuff that goes into them.
And what happened was, prior to that, when we had all the after I'd given all the pro surfers the Nevs, then it became firewire. Then we started making boards for a whole bunch of pros, including Kelly. And Kelly came down to the coast, and we did some testing sessions at Casuarina. Then we went to South Stratty, and we had Taj, Damon Nichols, a bunch of guys testing the new firewires, you could call them. And Trevor Hendy and a few others. So we're all over there. It's all being filmed. I've got great footage of it. But the thing that really blew me away was this. I'm watching everybody surf. Munger was out, and then on his new one. And then I see Kelly take off on this wave, and he's just banging it down the line on this board, just building up. And he's just like racing it. And then he goes to do that with all that speed to then come off the bottom and do this big hack. So he goes in to load up his bottom turn, and the board did a little wobble, and then he lost it, and then he didn't do the. He came in, he said, I need more resistance under my front foot. The board did a little overflex under his front foot. Yeah. So that gave us the understanding. He loved everything else about the boards. In fact, he was very close to signing with us then. And I'm sure he won't mind me saying, very close to signing with us, but his relationship with Al was so close, he couldn't bring himself to do that back then. So Taj comes along and we're saying, and Taj's boards were completely different. Taj's boards were so narrow in the tail and nose, like we're talking 5'11", 10 3/4 nose, 13 and 3/4 inch tail, but a really narrow little round square. And so a lot of curve in the outline, a lot of curve in the bottom, and enabling Taj just to be everywhere at once. And he was so fast, he could keep that board rail to rail.
He was, well, always fast, but amazing. He always fins out the back too.
Oh, mate. I saw some footage just the other day of, I can't remember what it's called, but oh my God. Now, he felt the same thing. So what we did, what Bert Berger suggested we should do, is we put this paddle pop, like a giant paddle pop, so that, and then put grooves in the paddle pop so that the resin sunk into those grooves and it stiffened it. We didn't want a vertical stringer because we still wanted that tensile modulus flex. So we put the paddle pop in, and Taj is going, I don't like it. I can see it. I don't want it. And I'm going, so we had to kind of spray it out, sort of thing. Oh, so
it goes all right if you don't see it.
If you don't see it, yeah. And that made all the difference. But then in 2007, and this is a really, really good story that I'd completely forgotten about until I found the little item that I'm going to explain to you. Yeah. So he's now doing really well. So in 2006, he actually was doing really well, and people were really noticing. 2007, now he's winning. So he's won. It was Bells. So he's down at Bells, and I'm there with Johnny Gannon, his coach, and myself and Taj. And he's out at Bells, and he's going, board's great, boards feels good, but it just feels a little flicky off the top. I don't have enough to carve through my turns off the top. So he and I said, okay, because I'm panicking because everybody's looking at Taj going, oh my God, his boards aren't. So I said, hang on a sec, mate. I flew home, got a guy to design me a little round disc thing out of aluminium, machined with a little cap on it. And I got little slivers of lead, each 100 grams. And I had 500 grams, I think, something like that. Or maybe they could have been 50 grams. Anyway, flew back down, said to Taj, we're in the house, all the pros are there in the house. And I said, hey, Taj, this is what I'm going to do. And he's looking at me, and I had a hole sore in my hand. Yeah. I said, you ready? And he goes, what? I said, I'm going to put this in the board. Oh, my God, yeah, all right. So I get the drill gun and I go, straight through the board. I look at him through the board. Everybody's breaking up laughing in the room. I'm talking all the pros going, what have you just done? So I got the thing with some Arrowlight, stuck it in, put some lead in it. And I weighed it up about 300 grams. Yeah. And put it 12 inches from the nose for swing weight. So Taj paddles out at Bird Rock, and we could see a difference. And he comes in, I could feel that. And we played around with it, and we put, 500 or 600. We put about 300, about 400 grams into it or something. And he ended up winning Bells. So, that was all about swing weight. So you can have a really light board, but if you're going to put weight in anywhere on a board, you put it up somewhere in the nose area, preferably not on the nose, but back somewhere so that's swing weight. But Taj went on and won.
Well, mate, now you're a shaper, mate. And I know like Hono's the shapers went through there, and like Murray had JS and DH. Have you had any shapers underneath you that have sort of come through and learned a bit of your skills?
You know, I'm a selfish bastard. But seriously, I've been too caught up in my own little world. I've been too busy. I mean, there's sometimes, and this happens a lot, when I got really big, like when I was doing 120, 150 boards a week, and I know guys like JS and DH, they're doing more than that now, but back, 25 years ago, that was a lot of boards. If someone came in with a new idea, I just didn't even have time to talk to them.
Yeah.
That's why Firewire was so good, because they had a whole lab on coming up with new tech and things like that. But for me to share my craft, I certainly didn't mind. Like I'd have guys in my room, and I'd always. I mean, I was a very visual shaper. Yeah. In other words, I would let people come and hang out in my shaping room, and if I never taught people how to shape. Yeah. But the thing is, I don't think I've ever found one pro surfer that spent more than 10 minutes in my shaping room. It's like, Nev, can I come by? And so we chat, and then we work out what they're going to want. And then they stand there in the corner, and I start mowing foam. It's noisy. There's dust going everywhere. I'm just going to go and check Burley.
G'day, folks. A big thanks and shout out to our mates at the Official Beer Co. They're sponsoring this episode, and of course, their new GC Lager, low carb. I'm trying to get them to make me a zero beer, but they haven't done it yet. But they will. It's an easy drinking, low carb beer brewed on the Gold Coast by a master brewer. So next time at your local, grab a 60, grab a cartoon. And if they haven't got it on tap at your local pub, go, why haven't you got it? Contact officialbeer.co. So next time, remember, if you're after a cold one, make it official. Mate, of all the guys you've shaped for over the years, it sort of goes back to when I annoyed the hell out of poor Terry Vosper. Yeah, he had a Cupid doll made of wetsuit rubber with Terry Teece written on it, hanging in a noose from these shaving makers. Board ready yet, Vos? Shaped it. Was there anyone that was like a bit of a frother for you that, but when they knew you were doing them some boards, that was like always all over you?
There's a few, but I've got to tell you one really good story about Munga.
Yeah. Oh, what a surfer!
What a legend!
Yeah, mate. Like I'd say he was one of your flagship surfers.
Flagship. Okay, so there's all these other guys that I've shaped for, but when a shaper has one surfer that people like Al Merrick had two. He had Tom Curran and Kelly Slater. Rusty had Ockie.
Yeah.
And to I shouldn't say a lesser degree, but I had Munga, and everybody recognised Nev and Munga as an.
And what a quality surfer, mate. He proved your board's worth at Sunset and at Burley Heads. It wasn't just showing that your boards go at Burley when it's 4 to 5 foot or something.
Let me tell you the best story I've got about Munga, about surfing Burley. So it's epic Burley this one day, right?
Yeah.
I'm running behind Munga up the point to go off the jump off rock.
Yeah.
And it's like high tide. It's 6 to 8. It's glassy. But it's high tide, and as well as I do,
Coffin Rock.
The hardest place on the planet to get out off the rocks is Burley on high tide. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
Your heart is in your throat. I would rather paddle out in 15-foot Sunset than get off the rocks at 8-foot Burley on high tide with those double sucks washing up the rocks.
We had Sonny Garcia in at the Board Riders Club once, and they were asking him, how hard is it to get the grumps? How hard is it to get out in the water? He goes, easy. That's what he goes, where's the hardest place to paddle out in the world? Burley Heads. I know. And that's from Sonny Garcia. Yeah. Anyway, back to where you were, mate.
So he's Munga's ahead of me. He runs down and he just gracefully jumps over the rocks. I'm thinking, right? Shouldn't have thought. Yeah. And then I'm following him, and then I see where he's going, and then he gets to the jump off rock, and then double, Big Surge jumps it. He's on the way out, and he's paddling. So I pull back, and I'm standing up high watching him. And then I see him paddle, and he's duck dived a couple. Then he's almost out, and this set comes, and he's just getting through, and he gets to this one that's just feathering, and he looks like he's just going to get through it, but at the last second, he actually takes off sideways.
Oh, wow.
Like he's paddling up the face, and then he jumps up, and then he side slips down, gets to the bottom, cranks his bottom turn, pulls up into the barrel, and gets shacked all the way down to the point, and then doggy doors out the point. Now I'm standing there hearing of Hugh McLeod and Bruce, Bruce Channon. That photo is the iconic photo of Burley and Munger. That's that Mysteries of the Deep photo with the perfect lip line. It's so glassy, it's ridiculous. And he's 16 and he's in this pit. So, Munger riding for Billabong was really, in the early stages, was an incredibly good surfer. Then he became an incredibly good professional surfer. Then he became an incredibly good free surfer whilst he was a pro, doing all the Bunyip Dreamings and the Green Iguanas and the trips up to Northwest. So he created such a following of people going, I want to be like Munger. So that's why he was so different. He was different than Tom Curran because I want to be a pro surfer like Tom Curran and be the world champion. I want to be like Occy, I want to be a grunt power surfer. Yeah. But everybody went, I want to be like Munger.
Well, that shot that Munger's that's so iconic, that one of him at sunset.
Yeah.
The drop and the angle, mate, it's crazy.
Made that.
But as you for a shaper, that's got to be like a thing to see your boards performing in those crazy conditions like big sunset like that.
But let me tell you, when you get a surfer of the caliber of Munger, and then past that was Sonny and all the others, it opens the doors for a shaper to start collaborating with other shapers. So I had the ability then to be able to work with great shapers like Glenn Manami, Glenn Pang, Al Merrick indirectly, and it happens now. A lot of surfers are shared amongst their shapers. Yeah. But back then it was almost okay to have, there was sometimes, like with Sonny, there was a Nev logo, a Channel Islands logo, and a Manami logo, and I would look at the board going, which one did I shape? Did I shape that one? And boards for sunset. I mean, I made a lot of guns for Western Australia, so I had a really good understanding of big wave boards.
WA's for people that know, that's power.
Yeah, absolutely.
Raw power.
And I was selling a lot of boards in California for Northern California for big waves at Ocean Beach, and not so much Mavs because Mavs wasn't really well known then, but they were surfing Mavs. But so I learnt a lot about my guns. But then to be in Hawaii, because I spent a lot of seasons in Hawaii shaping on the North Shore, and having surfers of the caliber of Sonny.
Yeah, so did you learn a lot off your surfers, learn a lot through their feedback? I
learned more from the other shapers that I was working with.
Oh, right.
Like Glenn Manami he's a numbers guy, and I'm a numbers guy. I mean, I failed math, but I keep really detailed records. That's why I'm doing these, for example, Dane Kealoha legendary replicas, or Christian Fletcher's boards, or Munger's boards. I've got so many measurement cards with the exact dimensions of those boards from when I shaped.
So you're a little bit anal with all your records and stuff, mate.
But I'm anal with it. But there's a particular way to measure a surfboard. A lot of surfers, a lot of shapers think that the more measurements you take, the better. But if you take particular measurements, one of them is a good example. Yeah. When you pick up a board with your hand, you're feeling the rail. Yeah. So when I measure a surfboard, where do I measure? I measure 4 inches in, because that's 4 inches in from the apex of the rail.
When it's under your arm, I like to feel it.
But you're holding it with your hand.
The other hand,
right?
On the arm,
So your mind is telling you that's what it's registering. Yeah. 4 inches in on the top of the rail, and then 1 inch in where your hand wraps around the rail. Yeah. So I only take 2 measurements of a rail. The algorithm in Shape 3D is that damn good that it takes those points and joins them together perfectly, exactly as I would do it if I was hand shaping the board. So Glenn showed me how he measured boards, and it was so systematic that when I went and measured a board, or I knew that I could take those measurements and turn it in by hand shaping it, turn it into a board that I knew it was going to work. And when you're in Hawaii, you learn things about design that you wouldn't learn elsewhere. Things like, Brewer's secret formula.
Yeah, well, Dick Brewer's known as a legend, big boards.
Absolutely, yeah. And he would say things like, he'd talk about the rail volume and how the dynamic of water flowing around a full rail is going to hold in better in a big wave than a more knifey rail. But then it's a slower rail. So because too much water's, so when you have a tapered rail, it's a faster rail, but it doesn't hold as well. So there's a whole bunch of variables that have got a lot to do with your weight, your physiology. Like you and I are completely opposite body shapes.
Guaranteed, mate.
Right. But you're doing better than, like I like to be able to say you're more like Occy, or even like Kelly's physique. Like Kelly's got that bigger shoulders, narrow waist, small waist, and skinny little legs, right? Occy's kind of got the same shape, but he's got nuggety legs. You've got nuggety legs. You've got a low center of gravity. Whereas I've got the shorter body length, longer legs. Yeah. So I'm more upright. No matter what I do, I can't be less upright than what I am. And I need sensitivity in my boards, like Machado or Philippe Toledo. If you're lightweight, you need sensitivity. You need to be able to just touch your toes and the board will bottom turn. Yeah. You need grunt.
So I need to be able to drive.
You need to be able to drive, and you need resistance in the area and thickness of the tail of your board, so it's pushing back at you as you're pushing it in. I want my tail to bury. That's why I could never ride twin fins. I hated them.
Yeah, I'm pretty heavy on my back foot.
Yeah, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I try to be heavy on my back foot, and there's a lot of surfers like me that are lightweight that just don't get it. They're riding boards with thick tails, and they're holding their turns. They can't turn. I've got to have a narrowish tail for my boards to work. I can't get it on rail.
Mate, have you got templates like that you've used for like forever, like that, mate? Because I know, a lot of like they're the shapers like little valuable gems, aren't they?
Well, it's not just the templates, but the templates is true. I've got a whole series of templates. I've got one template, so I'm going to own it, just like what Rob told me to do. Yeah. Own it, Nev. So in 1980, the outline of the tail of a board was either a cut wing or a big bump.
Yeah.
Like an Almeric big bump. He's just started doing that. Simon's bump, cut wings. And I was looking for something different because I just wanted a break point in the outline running off the tail. You do a nice round pin that has no break point. It looks...
So mate, for those who don't know, what's a break point?
Well, what I mean by that is if you're looking at the outline of a board, that's the only thing you're looking at. Visualize that. When the curve from the center of the board towards the tail runs towards the tail, in a normal nice little round tail, it'll just keep running around with no broken curve into a nice little round pin or a round tail. There's no break point.
So that's a little break in the line.
Yeah, whereas a wing gives you a distinct break point. A bump gives you a bigger break point, but it's a softer break point. Yeah. And why do you need a break point? You need release. As you're going through a turn, when you're setting up your bottom turn, if you've got a wide tail board with no break point in it, it's not going to release. Release meaning it's not going to come around quite as quickly. Yeah. Because it's and it's also a way of reducing the tail area behind the break point. Yeah. So I was working with Merrick Davis, the pro surfer, who was the Australian junior champion, an absolutely brilliant technical surfer. I mean, I've seen that guy in Japan in 83 or 84 take off on a left, go straight out into the flats. Like, you can't go any further, Merrick. You're going to have to bottom turn sometime, Then bottom turn straight back up the same track. Wow. Like that amazing, because he's got the same body shape again. He's got big shoulders, small waist, really powerful, low center of gravity. So he can just get that pivot and power off the bottom and just go, how the hell do they get all that speed going back up? So what I did was around 1980, 81, 82, I wanted to create this break point. So I just went 18 inches up from the tail and just turn the curve towards the tail. And that template I've still got. And that's my pride and joy, because no one was doing that type of breakpoint in the outline of it's a simple thing.
Yeah.
But when you look at all boards now that don't have wings and everything, they have that same breakpoint. And then there's another thing that I've got to own, and I don't mind saying this, and maybe somebody did it before, but who cares? It's another really simple thing that's in every high-performance board now.
Yeah.
That is, if you look at a board, say, 1990, 91, 92, a 6.0, like for Munga, it will have 2 inches, maybe 2 1/8 rocker in the tail. And the bottom curve, the rocker of the board, running from the centre, forget about the nose for a bit, is even all the way through to the tail. Most often, no concave because there wasn't a lot of rocker. You have concave if you have a lot of bottom curve. You don't have concave if you've got a flattish rocker. And I can elaborate on that in a minute. So I was looking for a way to release the tail through your top turn more, because that's what Munger and these guys were doing. If you look at the old footage, they were starting to break the fins out.
And nothing feels better when you do that.
No, to be able to do controlled drift. And it was other guys were doing the full carve, but all of a sudden guys are starting to break the tails out. And it just amazing. So how can we enhance that more? So at the same time, Weber's doing the banana board. He just started like early 1990, late 1991, 92.
Yeah.
And that was the full curve all the way through, an unbroken full curve.
Yeah.
I didn't like that, with greatest respect to Greg. It didn't turn me on. I didn't even want to try it, I got to be honest.
Yeah.
But I realised that I was on track with what I wanted to do, called the kicktail.
Yeah.
Now, the kicktail was pretty much a 3-stage rocker. You got your nose entry rocker, under your chest rocker, and then kick it through the tail. So I did a bunch of experiments with Jason Frost. This is around 91, 92.
Yep.
Even another guy, Shemp, used to surf at D-Bar, big guy. In my collection of boards, I've got a 6.6 board that's 18 and a half, 2.5 that I did for Shemp. And it's got like almost 4 inches tail rocker in it. I had to get Burfords to bend up a blank so I could hand shape it in. That was too much. But if you pick up the tail of a board now, any high performance board with concave, single, double, full concave, whatever, fins up and look from the very tail of the board along the rail towards the centre, you'll see, again, what you could call a break point on the bottom curve this time. So on the bottom, it gets to about 18 inches from the tail, and then it automatically starts turning towards the tail. So there's a point where it does break. So you've got this, what I call the kicktail. So the kicktail on a 6.0 might have 2.5, 2 5/8 rocker in the tail instead of 2 1/8. That allows you to come off the top and break your fins out. And guys were loving it. I did ads in all the magazines calling it the kicktail, and but it never got the same level of press that Greg got from the banana with Shane Herring and Kelly riding it and stuff. But I can honestly say that break in the outline, married with the break in the rocker in the bottom, was really the first time it was really being done. It's all been done before. Like somebody's probably shaped a longboard or something, like McTavish had his break. He's got that kick in the tail. I don't know when McTavish first did that. But for a high performance board going from a flat rocker to a rocker I'm pretty confident, happy to be told not, that I created that, and every high performance surfboard has got that in those boards now.
Wow, cool. Well, mate, now next up, Firewire. You're not associated with Firewire anymore.
Love them to bits.
Yeah.
Best mates, but no.
You just stepped away from that one?
Yeah. The interesting thing with that one was that when we started Firewire, I had to drop my brand, and the only time I had my name on the board was when I wrote on the board by Nev Footage. That was the only time.
Nev?
Nev.
Oh, Nev Footage.
Nev Footage.
Footage. Yeah. Okay. Now
so Nev Footage. That's a
sounds like Footage, like you're speaking French. Yes.
Yeah. And because Firewire didn't want to be surf tech, they didn't want a whole bunch of surfer brands, so I had to wear that on the chin.
Yeah.
So what happened then was I forgot where
we're going from leaving Firewire.
Oh yeah.
the break for Firewire.
Yeah. So I wasn't able to use my brand for all that time. I was the head shaper a designer for Firewire up until 2012. So from 2006 to 12, 6 years, I did all of the boards for Michelle and Philippe Toledo and Stewie Kennedy and Sally Fitzgibbons and all the rest.
Well, I didn't know that Philippe Toledo was on Firewires there.
Philippe was at Burleigh one day. You'd remember it. He was like, I don't know, 16 or something.
All right. Yeah.
And I had just done Taj what I called the Hellraiser.
Hellraiser. Oh, yeah.
It was the Hellfire for Firewire, but it was a more high performance one. I did it for Taj.
Yeah.
Taj didn't even want to look at it.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, hey Taj, I've just done you this board. It's 5'9". You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
A little diamond tail. Had that little drop sort of rail through the tail. Nah. And he didn't. And I'm not knocking Taj. He just didn't even want to lock at it.
Yeah, well, that's his thing, I suppose.
So sitting down at Firewire, and we see Philippe. I'm going, holy shit! Look at this guy! Oh my god! And I can't remember. Someone introduced us, and I said, "Hey, Philippe, yeah, sure, I'll because his dad's an old mate too, Brazilian, And I said, I got this board down there. I'll go and get it. So I went and got it, and it was right up his alley. He goes out at Burleigh, and he's just ripping. So he ended up writing for us for a reasonable, like, I don't know, a year, 18 months or something. I can't remember. But the thing with Firewire is that I started getting a bit jaded. I've had two jaded periods in my life. I'll give you two really good examples. It looks really glossy from the outside. Yeah. But around 98, 99, I probably had one of the best surf teams in the world. I mean, at that point in time, and if I leave people out, forgive me, but, I had Munga, Sonny, Rob Bain, Danny Wills. And a whole bunch more. I've left.
Don't leave Dwayne out.
I've left legends
out.
And a bunch of girls like Wendy Botha and Trudy and I had, and then I was getting calls from pro surfers as they come to town or wherever they were. Hey Nev, could you make me some boards? And I can't say no. Yeah. So, and every time at that time, and it's probably still the same now, every single time a pro surfer orders boards off you, they order 5 boards at a time. Yeah. So shapers put a lot of energy into those 5 boards. No matter how many times you think about it, I get my knickers in a twist. I get anxious. If I'm shaping boards for a top pro surfer, I put everything into that.
Well, it's going to be scrutinised down to the last, like, bare tenth of a millimetre or 100th of a millimetre.
All of our peers too, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah. Not just them, but like the other,
So like I was doing that for my whole career. Yeah. And then towards the end, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, before Nev became a couple more years there, it got to the stage where, and I'm not exaggerating, in about 2002, and I was going through stuff with the divorce and everything too. And Jamie O'Brien was writing for me at the time, and he was asking, and he's a great guy, and he was asking for 10 boards at a time. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it was like
There's
hard
a lot
work.
going on.
Yeah. And so, if Kelly had called me at that time and said, "Hey Nev, would you shape me 5 boards?" Like I've shaped boards for Kelly, but let's just say he did that, I would have said, "Yeah, mate, yeah, sure, great, awesome." Put the phone down.
There's another 5 to do.
And then go, "Fuck, I can't do this. I don't want to do it." And I was that jaded. I would have said no to Kelly. And that, again, that's not a boast. I'm not saying it for any other reason apart from the fact I was doing.
But you were sort of getting a bit of burnout, basically.
Total burnout. Yeah. And I didn't see the rewards. And I had back. I just left out Dino, Rasta, Parko. That's the other 3 guys I had on my boards at that same time. Yeah. Everyone was winning. Danny should have won the world title in '98 on my boards and fell off at pipe on one turn. One wave took the world title from Danny. He was ripping through the whole event, and then for some reason, he fell off on his bottom turn. And I was there on the beach going, oh, my God. So that was one time I got jaded, and the second time was with Firewire. Yeah. I'm doing all this stuff, but not jaded because of Firewire. I was loving it. But I was also doing this thing called Nev House.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to get onto, Nev House, because we had James Lewis in here. I think you've heard the podcast with James, and he's been over to Tuvalu helping to raise the land and that. And your Nev House is particularly for Pacific things. So let the people know about Nev House, because I think, mate, it is one freaking amazing thing you've got there.
It is indeed. And just before I do, I'll just tell you why I was jaded with Firewire, because I was at the 2012 event at Karamas.
Yep.
Now, I was invited to that event to do a Nev House promo, to build a Nev House on the beach at Karamas to promote recycling, plastic recycling in Bali. And Michelle was riding my boards, Philippe was still on the boards, and Sally. So Michelle comes second in the event, Parko beat him. And then Chewy Rayner, who was from the Momentum period, incredible surfer from California, who's the team manager for Firewire, he calls me and says, Nev, Michelle loves those boards you did him, doesn't like such and such, but he loves this one. Okay, so I made a note. And Sally wants you to do another one off her board, but just make it a 16th of an inch thinner. Okay, got it. So I go into the surfers area. I'm looking at the boards. I take photos of the boards. Which ones? I chose the wrong board of Michelle's, so I repeated the board he didn't like.
Oh, no.
And then with Sally's, I had it written on the rail, on the order sheet, because it was made in Thailand, because I designed it, it was machined, and they come out perfect. And I put the wrong, I think I put 2 1/8 on the rail, but it was actually 2 3/16. And then she wanted it to be a 16th and thinner, or I can't even remember the sequence.
But obviously
I got it all
this
wrong.
has happened because
I'm too busy.
Out.
I'm burnt out, and I'm just going. So Chewy said, Nev, you're not focused, man. And that's when we brought Biolis and Luke Short, and then Tomo and others on board. I said, guys, I want you to bring other shapers on.
Yeah.
And they were thinking that way anyway. And so that's how, slowly but surely, I became less important to Firewire, and I was quite happy about that in many ways.
Yeah.
I didn't want my plan. The options were I do what Tomo had to do, and that is become the guy. I'd already been the guy. I didn't want to be
You've
another
been the guy
Biolis.
many times, mate.
I know. I mean, I didn't want to go like that's what I was saying before about it looks all glossy from the outside.
Yeah.
When you go to a surfing contest anywhere in the world, and you're a well-known shaper, and you rock up at that concert, you rock up at the contest, and then you see other shapers hanging out in the surfers area, and your levels of anxiety and what do they call it when you that syndrome where you don't think you're worthy, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you're feeling, do I really want to be here? And I love people. I love talking.
Yeah.
But there is a sense of, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
And so you're down there and you're talking to people and everything. And I didn't want to have to be what Matt Biolis is doing or what DH or JS are doing.
Yeah.
I was over it. And so I just said, Chewy, it's fine. And I was looking at moving out completely. And I did. In 2018, I was out. And only because Kelly came in and bought the company in 2015, I was not really doing anything. Dan Mann started doing boards and Tomo started doing boards for Kelly. I didn't even want to do any boards, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. And I was really focused on, I was on landfills all over the world. That's what I was doing.
And so this brings us back to the Nev House, mate. Now, where did you, I know obviously there's ideas in your head all the time, mate, but where did the idea come for the Nev House?
Well, what do you do when you've been through a divorce? I got to admit something, that I was doing really well financially back in the 2002, 2003. Yeah. Business was going great. I had beachfront property and all that sort of shit. And but then I went through a divorce, and anybody who's gone through a divorce, it's not fun. Yeah. And you lose your focus. So all of a sudden my big shop up at Mermaid starts losing money because I'm not doing my job, right?
Yeah.
And I've got licensees all over the world, and it's like a lot of shit's going down.
Yeah.
So I've taken my focus off, and but then I've gone through the divorce and I've come out the other side, and I've got a little bit of money, and I went and I saw this plastics recycle. The guy, I was living at the Glades golf course, and this guy rocks up in a golf buggy who I knew, and he goes, "Hey Nev, are you interested in this?" And it was to invest in a plastics recycling company, a European technology that takes low-grade plastic, like everything that we hate about plastic, and turns it into products. So I invested in it, but that guy died in 2010 that I invested with. So 2004 to 2010, I was just doing everything else I was doing, Firewire and everything. But then I had to take over the company because if I didn't take over the company, I was going to lose my investment, which was a lot of money. Yeah. And so I took over the company, and then it was called Jet, and I started investigating how I could sell this on, or build a company. So I started negotiating in Papua New Guinea to build a recycling plant in Port Moresby, and we did the deal. It was a $15 million deal, signed and sealed, good faith payment made up front. Everything's good. Papua New Guineans come out, signing ceremony at Hope Island. This is in about 2011.
Yep.
And then I'm off to the US to go and visit a factory and get this whole thing going. I get a call while I'm in the US saying the deal's off. I'm going, what? They paid us all this money up front. What do you mean the deal's off? The deal's off because the CEO of that company, it was a logistics public company. The guy that was biggest shareholder pulls out of that company to become the head of Papua New Guinea Power, which is basically a ticket to become a billionaire overnight.
Yeah.
Right? So the deal's done. So now I've got this company and I'm going, now what do I do? So I go to Bali. I'm sitting with Ketut Menda, and this guy his name's Guy Joseph. He puts this thing in front of me, and it's a picture of a house that the Indonesian government gives to the poor, like just a little block house, 22 square meters. And I looked at it and I went, we could make that a house out of plastic, out of recycled plastic. So I went on this journey of trying to figure out, could we do it? And I engaged an architect by the name of Ken McBride in Sydney, a brilliant architect. And he was passionate about the same thing, and he had done a lot of architectural design for Indigenous housing, and so he understood where I was trying to go with this. So we designed a house that would be a Category 5 cyclone rated, rapidly deployed house that could be built in a couple of days, architecturally designed with a cathedral ceiling, no load-bearing walls, no tie-downs, no concrete. And we designed it. And that was 2012. Then I knew I couldn't use the technology that I had invested in because I couldn't get a piece of plastic longer than 12 feet.
Yeah, so obviously for a house you need longer than 12 feet.
And you need load-bearing things and
beams,
sort of stuff, and I couldn't get it out of the plastic. So we had a shift in the whole thing, and we called it Nev House because I've been in branding all my life. And like I told you before, don't call it something generic. It could have been Poly House or Recycled Plastic House.
But Nev House does sound good because, like you said, it's like the surfboard. Like,
what is it?
What's a Nev House?
It's not me.
Yeah.
It is me, but it's not me. It can be anything.
What's a Nev House?
Yeah. So I'm leaving so much out. But basically what happened from there was I met some people in Bali. Before I go into that, I had this really crazy experience in Indo.
Yep.
Now, I've been to Indo a lot. I've surfed everywhere in Indo. And here I am in Jakarta for 7 months.
7 months?
7 months in 2013. I was negotiating, trying to raise capital to do something in Indonesia. I was back and forth with Governor Pastika of Bali. He took me to one of his villages to show how they give away a house, and I even got one of those religious bells, a Hindu bell that the priests use. He gave it to me because he knew that I was going to do some good. So it's been a lot of good things happen, but I ended up meeting these guys in Bali. And Bali's one of those places that people disappear to if they've had some problems in their lives. There's a lot of those people in Bali. And so I met these guys, and they loved what I had proposed, and they invested in, and then we raised a whole bunch of capital. The one guy was a financial engineer that had a dodgy past. Now, I Googled him to find out what his dodgy past was. And he was acquitted in the High Court in the UK of all charges. And the people below him went to jail. So I went, okay, I believe you, right? And but he was brilliant. And we raised capital. We ended up being invited by the the government of the Philippines, the Aquino government, to come and meet with the vice president after the Tacloban hurricane that went through there.
Yeah.
Back and forth to PNG. I mean, so many different places, all over Indonesia. But here, just prior to meeting those guys, I was in Jakarta for 7 months because I couldn't pull it together. One day, I'll tell you the rest of the story because it was a really dark period of my life. And whilst I was there, the surf's pumping. Like I'm not able to even go for a surf. And then I was going back and forth to Bali, hanging out with Kutut Menda. Yeah. I got dengue fever because I was run down. I never get sick, right? Yeah. Never, ever. But I was really run down. But eventually, we raised the capital, and then we eventually delivered in Vanuatu. We delivered 15 classrooms and community centres in over 5 nakamals in one of the most remote places I've ever been to, and it's only 2.5 hours from here. Yeah. And grass skirts, penis sheaths, topless people in grass skirts. I mean, it's like crazy. Volcanoes, cults. If you want to go somewhere for a really crazy holiday, go to Tanna Island in Vanuatu. And I could tell you a story about Tanna Island, about the first surfers that surfed in Australia. Because Tommy Tanner was the first surfer from Tanna. I met Tommy Tanner's family.
Oh, wow.
Tommy Tanner went to, that's another story. I'll tell you that one.
But mate, with the Nev House now, it's made totally from recycled plastic. Is that correct?
To a point. So what we did was, I had to compromise in the design to have a laminated veneer lumber, which is a really high-pressed beam of sustainable timbers that are pressed together, kind of like plywood but on steroids.
Yep.
And because of the design of the house, it's all cut on CNC machines to go together like a Meccano set. Yep. And so the frame of the house is a really important part because it's got the cathedral ceilings, there's no internal walls, and it's gorgeous looking. And then the panels on the outside, especially for Tanner, we were using a recycled plastic scenario out of China. We weren't able to use the technology that we had developed because we hadn't done the final testing for it to meet code in certain places. So instead of doing that, we used these particular panels. And if you look at the photos of the houses in Vanuatu on the Nev House website, you'll see that it's just a beautiful design.
Yeah.
So I was very proud about that. And there's a lot of really good things that came from that and a lot of good things that we're going to do. The sad part of the story is this. I've got 180 shareholders. And at the time when the shit hit the fan, I had about 160 shareholders. And some of them are well known in the surfing industry, in surfing culture and others, friends and family, etc. But the guy that was acquitted was still a crim. So when we had raised all this money, when we had contracts almost on the table, like seriously big contracts with the Vanuatu government, with the Papua New Guinean government, we're looking at this guy started spending the money badly, and I had to sack him. So I sacked this guy. Then I had no CEO. So I put on another CEO, this guy, Gordon Barnes. Not Gordon Barnes. We love Gordon Barnes. What am I saying? Yeah. This guy from Deloitte, and he became my CEO. In 6 months, I sacked him for gross misconduct of trying to burn all my shareholders. Basically said to me, they're done. They're finished, mate. We're going to bring in the top money from Sydney. We're going to close these contracts in Vanuatu and we'll go on from there, and then I'm going to retire. That's what he said to me. Yeah. So I sacked him. And then I had all this legal dramas that's cost me pretty much everything. And I'm not whinging about that, but that's what happened. Yeah. And I'm leaving out heaps. But basically I got a new team around me, and the new team allowed me to re-establish the Nev House dream of delivering Nev House.
Oh, that's cool, and that's going to give sustainable housing to people there. Mate, next one I want to go, you're back making your boards again now.
Yeah.
So you're back making your boards, you've got the Nev boards coming back.
Yeah.
And like they're your old retro models and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. And I know you're going to take this bit out, but let's talk later about the rest of that story. Yeah. Because either delete that or just talk some nice stuff about it, because there's a really good story in that at another session.
Yeah.
So, but getting back to what I'm doing, that's a great segue.
Yeah.
So, the funny thing is that I started making some boards again because my kids, Renee, Jaden, and Tara, had never seen me hand shape a surfboard. And I'm going, yes, you have. And I said, no, Dad, we haven't. Like, hang on, no, we haven't, because you were finishing pre-shapes. So I went and shaped a couple of boards for Jaden, my son, and then I made boards for the kids and one for myself at Burleigh. And I'm walking up the point at Burleigh, and guys are going, "Oh my God, Nev, make me one." I'm going, "Oh, no, I don't want to. I'm over it. No."
Yeah.
But then the 80s became the new 70s. And then I started getting orders for boards, and I started making remakes of Munga's boards and Sonny's boards and things. And then I had Sam Parsons down there at Burleigh finishing my boards. He was doing Dick Van's boards at the time. And then and things started to roll. So what's happened is I've engaged a really good digital marketing agency. You've got to have a good marketing. I've been in marketing my whole life, but I can't do it like the experts do it. And they're smashing it out the ballpark. And I'm telling stories, all my stories, and it's a different way to present my brand.
Yep.
And I'm proud about what I'm doing. I love it. And there's a billion stories. Everybody's got a billion stories.
Mate, we're going to have to get you back in again, because I think, mate, there's so much to do. And now the boards, you're selling those, they're coming back. And, mate, I tell you what, you've had a magnificent, well, you've still got plenty to go.
Yeah, I'm going to surf till 100. Philippe Pomar has invited me to be an ambassador for Surf Till 100. So we're going to do a promo.
Yeah.
So I'll go with him to rotate, and I'll talk about boards and surfing and stuff and at my age, and he's going to talk about health and wellness and Surf Till 100. We're going to be surfing till 100.
Mate, that is bloody awesome, and I'm glad to see the Nevs are back. Yeah. Never look back. I know. Nevs are back. But, mate, got to wrap it up now.
I know. We
love you to death, brother. Hey. Yep. Well, thanks for coming on the
Tappa.
Green Room, Nev.
I loved it, mate.
And, mate, we'll get you back in again, and we'll go into some of those other stuff as well.
Love to.
Okay, mate.
Let's see you out at Burleigh, buddy. Don't drop any of me, please.
Hey, you're the one that drops in on me, mate. Come on.
You know that, like parting notes, Alan Byrne. Yeah. We loved Al. Best guy ever.
Yeah.
But every single time I was out at Burleigh with Al, he would paddle for wave. I'm on it, and he'd be look at him. He'd wink at me, laugh, and then go. Just drop it.
That's AB.
God.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, Nev. Cool.
Unreal, buddy.
Mate, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning into the Green Room. Hey, folks, would you like to get your name in the Green Room podcast? Well, we are looking for sponsors, so if you want to get a sponsorship, check it out at Podfire. Lots of people can hear about your product on one of the best podcasts around the Green Room, so check it out, Podfire. Thanks for tuning into the Green Room. A big thank you to our guests for sharing their stories and insights, and Podfire for bringing this podcast to life. Don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a review, and share the Green Room with your friends. We'll catch you next time for more conversations with the legends of surf and beyond. Until then, catch you in the waves.